Sweet Tea Channeling, June 14th, 2023. Imagine using your limitless and innate power of creation to bring a reality into being that you would truly be honored to live in. A place where everyone feels loved, accepted, appreciated, and understood. A place where each of our unique and brilliant abilities are used to create a delightful, joy-filled, and magical world. A place where you can wake up each day feeling inspired to be the best version of yourself you can possibly be, and then go through your day being fueled by that energy. How might we deal with things in a world like that? How might we create things? How would we treat the earth? How would we treat each other? Welcome to Sweet Tea Channeling, a safe and sacred space where we will explore and play together, creating a delightful and insightful reality that can inspire us in our everyday lives. We have been tasked with inviting others into Hoomadhi, a reality created by a community of open-minded, pure-hearted beings, celebrating divine oneness and brilliant uniqueness while living in harmony, joy, and ease with one another and our beloved planet. Right here in 3D, right now in our everyday lives, together with those drawn to be creating with us. This might sound a little beyond our ability as mere humans, but we've been told there's nothing mere about any of us. We've also been asked to see beyond our current limited views and trust instead in our infinite potential. My name is Debbie Pokornik, and I'm here with my beautiful soul sister, Susan Hoskins, and together we will be your hosts. All we ask of you is that you enter this space with an open mind, no expectations or agendas, and allow everything that is said here to flow through your heart, to really feel into it, and allow what arises for you to bounce with the ideas of others.
All we ask is that you set down the invisible backpack you carry with you always. In the backpack are contained all the hurts you perceive from the past, the disappointments, the times you felt like a victim, and everything that keeps you from enjoying life as fully as you can.
We are all brilliantly unique and intricately connected. In this space, we want you to feel free to speak your truth with love, respect, and compassion for that which is shared by others. Our desire is to meet weekly and start each gathering with a fresh channeling from an energy called Christopher. While Susan is sharing this guidance from beyond, we invite you to allow yourself to slip into the stream of consciousness, noticing anything that comes to you, any whisperings from your soul, any chords that are struck, any threads you'd like to follow. Try not to get lost in these thoughts, but allow them to flow and trust that if they are meant to be shared, they will be remembered and allowed to surface again. Afterwards, as we play in this field of discovery, we will allow each new idea that is added to bring in a new flavor until we have a beautiful kaleidoscope of colors, unique to us, to this reading, and to the reality we are creating together. We will end our gathering in about an hour and then go about our week living in this energy. Let's begin by opening sacred space, followed by the channeling.
Take a few seconds just to breathe. Breathing in this beautiful energy and breathing out whatever it is you might have carried with you into this wonderful meeting together. Breathing in and breathing out. Breathing in and breathing out. And we call in our beautiful tribe of angels, guides, and master teachers. We call in our higher selves, our Holy Spirit, that we are always one with and always one with divine source. And we call in the energy that I call Christopher to be with us for this wonderful, wonderful experience. And I'd like to begin by something that was said last week that I just loved, which is imagine looking up to the heavens and seeing the stars and the moon at night, but also so many moons and suns beyond what you see. For creating is so much more than you know. It is simply up to you to reach up and touch the stars and beyond with your mind and pureness of heart. And so let us open and begin the channeling.
So before we go into the actual channeling, I have an analogy that I feel inspired to share about how we slip into the stream of consciousness. Of course, you may enter the stream of consciousness however it works best for you. I am not in any way presuming to tell you how to do that. But I know for me, I wasn't really sure how, and I'm still actually working on learning how to do this. And what came up for me this morning was this idea of imagining myself on this beautiful boat or barge or whatever you want to picture, going down this river. And this isn't just an ordinary river. It is a river with so many incredible sights and sounds and smells and tastes. And it brings up all these feelings in you and it makes you really feel like you would like to capture every little bit, but you know that you can't. And so instead, you just give into it. You just go with it and you allow whatever catches your attention in that moment, in that second, to be what's most important for you right then. And then you move on to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. So that is what I'm going to be doing to practice living in the stream of consciousness during this channeling. And if you don't have a plan, perhaps you want to try it as well, or maybe it'll just inspire you to come up with a plan of your own. So, Christopher, in our last sweet tea channeling, you asked us to imagine being able to cleanse our beautiful earth of negativity, hatred, division, and animosity by picturing a refreshing cascade of colorful golden and white light, followed by a kaleidoscope of pure creativity and beingness, and the purity of only the greatest good for all. Can you expand on this further?
Let me begin by saying how honored we are to be with you today. And yes, we love the beautiful analogy you shared, Debbie, of being in the stream of consciousness. And we see it as the opportunity to be in a total space of creating the exact reality you wish to bring into your earthly experience. So when we talk about the cascade of beautiful water cleansing you, the earth, the animals, it is in your mind that you see this, and in your heart that you feel it, for it is so. It is possible in this realm of pure consciousness to create anew. But much like setting down your backpack it is important that you also feel the cleansing energy, removing any blocks to living in that space that we are calling Hoomadhi, which is a space of love and joy and oneness, where none of what you've experienced with hatred and division exists. And so imagine that you absolutely can take what you might even call a heavenly shower of love, just to cleanse you and prepare you for the beautiful things that we are creating together. Can you feel this energy as we speak? Can you imagine living in a world where the minute you find yourself not in the stream of consciousness that is pure joy and delight, that you can pause to reboot and refresh in the truth of your being, which is pure light, love, and creativity. Does this help?
Absolutely. Thank you.
We just want you to know that it truly is possible to create what we are thinking of as heaven and earth, which is really just bringing more of the innate divinity within you into awareness, into a living consciousness, into a breathing being, because we are not separate. We are right here with you every step of the way. And the more that we can be aware of our total oneness, the more that we can create together. And on that note, I'd like to say something about why it is important to raise your vibration or tune your frequency to a higher level to connect with us. Because every single one of you can talk to your guides and angels and master teachers and hear their message, much as we are doing today. But it requires that you, as a human being, lift your energy, your vibration, your frequency up to sync with us, so that we're not operating on different channels of the same radio. This is what we would like you to focus on for today. Setting your backpack down, imagining being able to step into this beautiful consciousness of creation. As Debbie shared, much like getting in a beautiful boat in a beautiful, beautiful, winding, clear river, and looking up to the stars and the sun and the moon, and realizing that you are so much more than your current experiences on Earth today. You are part of a much grander solar system and beyond. And we are as close as your best friends. We are here to be with you, communicate with you, share with you, and create a new reality that you wish to live in every single day. That is our message.
That is beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you, Debbie. That felt so good. The power, the brilliant energy of Christopher and all our tribes of angels and guides was truly present. And
Nice.
luckily, they stopped mowing outside. I don't know if you can hear, but they stopped weed whacking long enough for the channeling to come in, and now they're back. So I don't know if you can hear it, but thank you for waiting.
Very nice. Very nice. So there's so many pieces in there to pick out, or to play with, to bounce around. Do you have any specific one that you would like to start with?
Well, it was very apparent that what we're being asked to do is to truly work on our inner self, to do whatever we can to let go of the past hurts, the past experiences, because what we're creating is so new and beautiful. And the time is now. If not now, then when? And we have all the guides and resources we need right here to do that. Our first task is simply to be willing to let go of some of this past baggage in our backpack, step in and open ourselves up by raising our vibration. And I think part of the cleansing water bath was to give us a visual, a beautiful visual that we really can stop at any point and go, refresh, reboot, if you will, because what we're doing requires us to be in the best possible state of heart that we can be in. That's what I'm liking today.
Yes, yes. You know, it's been a really interesting week for me in that way, since listening to the channeling last week. I was playing with information coming in from Dr. Sue Morter, who talks
Mhm.
about the energy codes. And she talks about us when the energy comes down, especially when we're born, it's like it splats and it kind of goes everywhere, like spilt milk, or I picture almost like something like a mango, dropping on the floor and just all over. And so through this week, I've been calling back. When I notice that I'm doing this, I've been stopping and calling back my energy. So, just to give you a real example, just before recording today, I had just gotten back from the grocery store. I needed to grab a quick bite of lunch. So, I was eating a sandwich, and all of a sudden, I realized that, unbeknownst to me, my energy had splatted and had gone in different directions. I was thinking, oh, I've got to quickly do this so I can work with the lighting. And I hope that the guys working next door are gone. And all these things were going through me. And all of a sudden, I was having trouble even swallowing my sandwich because I was kind of rushing a little bit. And I went, oh, Debbie, relax. Call your energy back. It's the only thing I did different in that moment. I continued to eat. Everything continued on around me, but I felt completely at peace compared to where I had been just moments before.
Oh, I love that. And I had an interesting week I wanted to share. I alluded to last week, as to how we really can begin to live this every single day. And we talked about that in the opening, about taking the nuggets of wisdom and really living them. So a week ago, my husband had to have a heart valve replacement, which sounds like a very scary surgery. Thankfully, they've come a very long way with it. But the setup for the surgery was such that I could have easily gotten into a little bit of panic and fear, because it started out with everything I don't like having to make sure I'm up by 3 o'clock in the morning to get out and drive in the dark to the hospital an hour away. And all those things, and how all that in our mind wanted to be swirling around. But instead, it was remarkable. I laid awake all night because I couldn't sleep. And I just intended just to step into the very consciousness we're talking about. And it was the most wonderful, surreal experience, because the message was focus only on each moment. So focus when the time came to make sure we were up. Focus on driving in the dark to the hospital. Focus on just being fully present with all of it. And I felt like I was living in a different reality. It was beautiful. I was, the hours of surgery and then recovery and then waiting in the room just sort of flowed. That's the best way I can describe it. And the experience with the staff. And I realized that one of my other fears was that I would be exhausted going through this. I mean, no sleep and all that. And I realized when I finally got home after 14 hours at the hospital, I walked in the door and I go, oh my gosh, I still feel energized. And then, of course, about 5 minutes later, being with my puppy at home, it went, Okay, it's hit me now. It was like I stepped out of that boat and went, okay, I'm tired. Time to eat and go to bed. So I just wanted to share that only because I do know it's really possible to live this consciousness. And intention is such an important part of it, much like you did intending to call back your energy.
Yes, and I mean that power of the now moment is so real, and I've played with that lots. I try to live it, but I
Mm-hmm.
find it challenging to live it all the time because we're always thinking about, gee, what am I going to make for supper, or what,
Mm-hmm.
I got to go pick up the kids, or I got to do this, or I got to do that. There's all these things, and yeah, I realize that when I take the time and I go, hey, be here now, be in this moment, feel feel the air touching
Mm-hmm.
my skin, feel the seat under my butt, smell the smells in the air, hear the sounds. Don't get upset by the sounds, but just hear the sounds. Um, it all makes such a difference, and the day really is a whole different
Oh,
experience.
it is. It is. And one of the things I'm also struck with and want to share is a message that came through for me on a different matter that I shared a bit with you yesterday about the presence of our guides with us, however you wish to call them. And we talked a little bit in the channeling about raising our vibration or our frequency to be able to connect with them, much like we're talking about how to do that now. And it's such a beautiful thing when we do that and live in the moment because, I've been told and I've experienced it. Our beautiful guides are right here with us all the time. And all they want to do is communicate and be of help in any way they can. But we have to be in the right frequency to not only ask for their guidance, but to hear or experience or to sense what they're communicating with us. And I've been told that when we do that, it's as easy as communicating as you and I are now, or as you do with your best friend over a cup of tea, or your family in the living room. They are that present. And to me, that is so comforting to know that.
Hmm. Yes, it is very comforting to know that. And I remember you mentioning before about one of your channelings, they said um, not to meet a person, or not, it wasn't about not meeting the person. It was about don't dip down and lower
Mhm.
your own frequency to meet somebody else.
Correct.
Because, and the example they gave was, we do not come down to your
Yeah.
vibration. We ask you to come up and meet us,
Yeah.
as close as you can to here. And that just really stuck with me because I'm always thinking, am I at a vibration
Mm-hmm.
where I would receive what I want to receive, what I'm, living my life to receive. I mean, trying is the wrong word. And people are going to notice this, I think, the more they talk with us,
Mm-hmm.
that we're always stopping on certain words and going, wait a minute, that's
I
not the right word. So it's not about efforting, but we're always in awareness of
mhm.
how we're feeling, where we're at, and how do we do to just get that little bit higher.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, and I love the reminder you just shared because I know both you and I in our previous lives have done a lot of work with advising people, counseling people, and so forth. And the message was wonderful. You can share what you have to share to try to assist them to get their own guidance to do what they need to do. You can't fix anybody, and you sure don't want to dive down into a person's backpack. Oh, this is a cool visual coming. You sure don't want to jump into their backpack and rummage around in it.
Right.
I don't want to find the bologna sandwich left from their ex-husband 10 years ago.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. It could be an awful experience. But isn't that the truth? And sometimes now I'm finding that when people start opening their backpack and dumping the contents out around my feet, that
Mhm.
it's not that I'm offended by it, but I feel like, you know what? I get it. I know that it's tough. I know we all have these things, but maybe it's time to clean out your backpack,
Yeah,
right? Rather than dump it at my feet again. And,
right.
and so I find that I don't have, I was going to say I don't have as much tolerance, but again, that's not what I mean. I
Mhm.
mean, I feel like I'm no longer serving by allowing them to play that story out yet
Right.
again, right there, by me. And so I'm starting to stop that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I love that. And I do think people will notice how we do stop to be so careful with our words. And that's because words are limiting. And we each have different perspectives sometime on a phrase just because of our own personal experience or what it means to us. And so I love that we're practicing that, just making sure that we're communicating with words which are like boxes and they are limiting, and reminded to just understand that life is so much more than these boxes, even boxes of words.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That it makes me think about back in my previous life as a parent educator. I used to find that I spend the day with the kids and I would be so exhausted afterwards. And I'd realize that it was because I refused to parent on autopilot. I was teaching people not to parent on autopilot. I didn't want to be a hypocrite, but
Mhm.
also I just wanted to be the kind of parent that didn't. So what's coming to me now is that this is the harder road. I mean, we're scaling the cliff,
Mhm.
we're climbing up the ice thing or whatever with our picks, and we're we're taking a hard and very rewarding path to
Oh,
get somewhere really, really incredible quickly. Um, but it's not for the faint of heart. How many times have we heard that?
yeah.
And it's not necessarily the easiest trail. But I have to say that I love my life. I spend the bulk of my time going, gosh, I love my life.
Too.
Yeah,
Yeah, I love living with this frequency on the radio. I really do.
yeah.
And the other thing, touching upon diving down into somebody's backpack, I had an experience with that yesterday too. Again, in my previous life, I thought, my gosh, I've got to make people understand what I believe and what I know because it's much better for them.
Yes.
Yes, I've come a long way since then. Thank God we wouldn't be having this conversation. And that came in that I got. I don't like the word tested. I got to revisit that sitting on our patio last night. It had finally had been raining, raining, raining. The sun came out. We're out there with our dog, and I see a neighbor who comes over, and we're having a conversation about somebody else moving in, and all of a sudden, this person stops and she says, "Oh, I had a conversation with your neighbor, the one who has the big dog." And I went, I know what you mean. She told me she was a medium. And she gets this horrified look like it's the worst thing in the world. How dare she? Oh my gosh. And I look at her and I go, yes. And she goes, you know she's a medium? Like, let's dive down there and be horrified. And I look at her and I say, well, of course I do. And she goes, oh, and part of me wanted to go, oh, girl, and I channel, and I'm doing this work with Debbie, and if only you could come into this consciousness, you would love it. But instead, I looked in her eyes and I realized she was not in that space. And so I simply said to her, isn't it glorious that we can all choose what we want to believe and embody? And she looked at me kind of like, and then she said, well, I still think that's pretty far out. I went, smile. It was just funny. It was funny for me in the sense of,
Absolutely.
boy, I had a chance to go in many different directions with that.
So
Yeah.
true. And I think that we run into that all the time. It's almost like we've got our ball, we're going to throw it and bounce it, and we realize that they don't want to, they're not ready to play. So, like,
Oh,
the ball's just going to knock them in the forehead or something. And they're going to be very upset with us.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's a great analogy. That I like that a lot. Yeah. Yeah. So I invite people to think about that when we're invited to play and we decline to play because we know the ball's not going to be played with, only hit them in the head. Yeah, I like that a lot.
They're just not ready for the game
Yeah.
that we're playing. And that is part of what makes the world so incredible. You know, the fact that we have such different people doing things in such
Right.
different ways. But I'm finding more and more conversations that I could not have had with people years ago. They're ready to have. I mean, I just yesterday I was talking to my neighbor who's building next door, and him and I don't often have a lot that
Mhm.
in common that we can talk about. And we were able to talk about people we knew who had been very, very sick, and you know, the treatment that they had received, and some of them deciding that they weren't going to go the treatment route and what that meant. And my point is this: it was a big, beautiful, deep conversation that I never would have thought I could have with him. I didn't hold back, but I also didn't overshare in the
Right. Sure.
areas that I knew he wasn't ready to go in. And when we were done talking and I told him I needed to go, he said, "That was a really, really great conversation. Thank you."
Nice.
And I thought, isn't that neat? That's
It's love.
bouncing your ball gently, sort of saying, "Here, you want to catch this? You're ready to catch it before we start bouncing it like you and I can do." I mean, we can
Right.
walk in a room and take a handful of balls and throw them all and get them going and, you know, and play
Yeah,
with them.
I love that. I love that.
And I am so looking forward to where we have the people that we're attracting now, because we know we've been told without a doubt we're not just even attracting just a few people. We're attracting a lot of people. And I look so forward to having them and having all these different
Too.
balls flowing. And, you know, what did you notice going down that river? What were the things that popped out for you? That's going
Yeah,
to be so fun.
I know, because what I love about what you and I do that we are sharing with other people is the fact that so much more comes in because we are inspired in different ways with different words, with different messages. So, like what you were saying, emptying the contents of the backpack at your feet and, all of that with the people that we're attracting. It's so fun. It's so fun to get the perspective and the ideas. And one thing I know for sure as we continue to move forward is we will always make this real.
Mm,
I love that. Yeah. Because this really is
absolutely.
a way of living. Yeah.
Yeah. And what came to me while you were sharing that piece is that sometimes you need the other person to share their piece, their vision, whatever, bounce their ball, in order for you to get to a thought, because
Sure.
it just wasn't going to come to you unless you could build it off of the platform of something else. And so I love that we're creating together in a way that allows us to get so much further
Yeah.
faster.
Yeah, that is our humani. I love it.
It is. It is. Humadi out there.
Humani. Humani.
So here's an interesting piece for me with us changing how we're doing this. And so now you channeled live, which thank you, by the way. This was a real risk today for Susan. She doesn't normally channel live in this sort of a setting. And yet we felt that it was the right way to go. And so this was a live channeling. It was not pre-done. It was fresh, like fresh, fresh. You heard it right as it was
Right.
being made. And because of that, there's pieces that popped up
Mm-hmm.
that I feel like would be really valuable to go into, but I
Mm-hmm.
feel like I need time to go back and listen to the channeling again in order to really pull it in to, for me to integrate it. So I'm almost feeling like sometimes we might be working off of the previous channeling in our discussions. Does that make
Sure.
sense?
Oh, it's perfect because remember, there is no past or future. There's only this present moment. So whatever is coming to us to talk about or work from is meant to be in this present moment. So yeah, that feels great to me. And I love pulling out the nuggets because again, when I'm channeling, I'm here but not here. I'm just allowing it to flow. And yeah, I'll be interested to hear it again too.
Yes.
And I love what you did to guide me in the opening sacred space, which was sharing a nugget from last week. And so, yes, I love that idea of doing that.
Yes.
And you know that our intention is that whatever we do, it's always for the greatest good of all. So whatever
Mhm.
we're led to share is perfect.
Yes. And I have spent a fair amount of, again, it's not really time, energy units, I
Mhm.
guess, just really sitting and not pretending, imagining that I
Mm.
was up in the stars
Yeah.
and that the stars were down around me.
Oh, I
And,
love that.
yeah, just really feeling into that beyond like it's so much more than we are so much more than what we ever thought
Right.
that we've been told. I mean, in fact, I feel like at times I've been shamed, like shame on you for thinking that you're capable of so much,
Uh,
that whole, and it's like, huh. And yet in truth, we really are all that and more, way more.
Way more. And one of the things I keep getting, because I go in every day just to get my own messages, and one of the things that they are always stressing is yes, we are so much more than what we know. And the way to access that is to be willing to go beyond our current boundaries.
Yes.
And so I was very comfortable doing the channeling last week because I channeled, then I put it away, then and then when I was asked to do it this way, it was like, a moment of, oh my, can I do that? And I got a beautiful message of course you can. And it's important in honing this gift that everybody can do. Everybody can access their own guidance. They may not do it through channeling, but you do it through your own way. But it does require that you go beyond any boundary that limits you've set on yourself.
Yes.
So I invite all of us to do that. Just be willing.
Yeah.
Just be willing. Yeah.
Well, and I think that that ties right back to that piece about being in the now, trusting that in the now, you'll have everything you need, right, for
Exactly.
that moment to live. So I have some of the channeling from last week, and although we could wrap up, but I feel like I wanted to read this one.
Sure.
Okay. Imagine that beautiful cleansing shower of light and love falling down all around you now. Said that funny, but I think you got the message.
Mhm.
Imagine.
Mhm.
Imagine the same for those you love, those you know, those you don't know, the place where you are, and all the places where you are not, but others are. See the animals drinking of the divine water, the plants, the minerals, every single aspect of creation getting the most refreshing and cleansing bath that you can imagine, where the temperature is perfect and the water perfectly bright and clear. For this is where we begin to create anew.
Mhm.
To me, I don't think we can spend too much time envisioning that.
Mhm.
Seeing ourselves in that water, whether, I mean, if you're in the shower or the bath or the lake or whatever, certainly that is a good time to do it. But it can be any time, right? If you have a really frustrating moment with somebody else, maybe they dumped their backpack at your feet,
Mhm.
or threw it at you even. Just taking that moment to find a space and close your eyes and go deep within and really just feel yourself floating in that water, even
Mhm.
bringing that person into the water.
Into-
I'm not sure that we're supposed to throw a bucket of it at them. It might feel like that sometimes.
Right. Well, and the other thing I love, what I was getting when you were reading that, is knowing that all of us are in this together, including the animals and the plants and those people that we love and those people we want to judge. The people, that are wonderful role models and the people who are not. We're all in this together. And it is possible that each one of us can come into this consciousness when they're ready. But I think the more that we see this beautiful cleansing waters washing away all that gunk so that we can all be in this beautiful creation together, I like that.
Yes, I do too. And it serves us to picture others and have them cleanse too, because our energies overlap, whether we
Yeah,
want them to or not. We're in their energy soup every time we are with them.
right.
So rather than think, no way, I don't like him, I don't like the way he treats people, I don't like what he's saying, I don't want to be around him or her or whatever, you're better off, really, or we're better off if we can instead go, you know what? I'm just going to feel a cleansing water
Yeah,
around you.
right. Yeah.
Very interesting. And to me, it opens it opens things up. I think it's because water is so flowy, right?
Right.
You can't say it's like the idea of people talk about having a no smoking
Mm-hmm.
section of a restaurant, and they say it's like saying don't pee in the pool. We're all in that, we're all in that same water.
Sure.
And so to me, the cleaner we can make that water and the more we can spread it out and the more we can watch it flow and allow it to, you know, move around and go to others, and the more the more whole,
Mm-hmm.
as we are all one.
Exactly. And I've been told, and I've shared with someone else who I channeled for this week, that it's even the smallest acts of kindness, of love that we show to one another, to our loved one, to whomever, to a stranger, is not just a simple act of kindness. It actually affects the entire consciousness of the planet. So the more and beyond. And so the more that we can envision that beautiful cleansing bath, wishing people the very best, wishing them the love that we're experiencing and know, it does make a difference.
Yeah.
It does.
There is so much power in that. And I think we've probably all heard that idea that, every little thing that we do
Mm-hmm.
makes a difference and ripples out the whole ripple effect, right? Or the
Right.
butterfly effect. All of that, it's telling us that there's nothing you do or think or say or whatever that doesn't have an impact somewhere in
Mm-hmm.
some way. So why not make them things that raise your vibration and open you up to hearing the messages that are coming through, to those
Perfect.
frequencies.
Perfect.
So I don't know, this feels like a nice place to end for today.
So,
Just want people to know when you join us, we'll send you the cool background if you want to be singles. If you don't, that's okay.
yeah. Yeah.
I'm thinking now people could look and be intimidated because we're cool. Yeah. So, are there any extra highlights or anything that you would like to
Just, I
share?
think we've played with and explored some of the nuggets that we've been given, that we've shared, and I invite anyone who's listening to this just to play with it too, because it doesn't matter if you're listening to it now or later. We're still all one in the present moment.
Yes. So we're going to close Sacred Space.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, let's close. I'd love to do that. Oh, beloved guides and angels and master teachers that are present in this moment and at the very moment anyone is listening to that, and to the energy that I so treasure and cherish called Christopher. We thank you for this wonderful channeling and experience today. Thank you for playing with Debbie and I and being in the room with us to bounce balls. And we know as we go forth to live this message this week that we invite anyone who is experiencing this recording later on to know that you truly are in this with us. You're in this very moment with us. And so we thank you as well for together we ascend. Together we are so much better, and we are so much more than we can possibly imagine. We often call in the golden sheets, and we invite you who are listening to this later to do so. And the golden sheets are meant to protect our light, our work, our sacred energy from the bombardment of energy that is not congruent with this beautiful high vibration. And so as we close this today, we do ask that the golden sheets protect our light, this beautiful work, and everyone who is listening to this now. We let that be so, and so it is.
Ready to help us create this magic? Send us an email at info.hoomadhi@gmail.com. That's info.hoomadhi@gmail.com.